remember as well, Samantha, when you were filming some of the stuff at your parents' farm. I think that's right, wasn't it? When I think Jack was saying he saw some of the kind of trailers and stuff in the background, and it was like, oh my god, get some footage of the trailers, and we'll do some with that. And that became the Stiggy that's in the back of it. Like those videos. Oh my god, the Compsognathus as well. They were amazing, and that was like the perfect place to shoot it as well, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, because I originally had the idea of, the compy being in that little like trap that my dad has, and it was just sitting on the back of this, trailer for the longest time. I'm like, okay, I'll just film something. Manuel can decide which small dinosaur will fit in there. And then, like you said, Jack said, oh, my dad has this giant stock trailer, so it's meant for cows. Something bigger can fit in there. I know with that, I did have to then go back and refilm some stuff, for sound and stuff like that. But that's also where I got the idea for the sliding under the truck, which ultimately became Sam and Jack running from a T-Rex.
Yeah. So just to go back a sec, obviously your sound design for the Stiggy one was, I needed the sound of what that trailer would sound like if something was in there. So you were in there stomping and recording yourself stomping. Yeah. Around there, but I actually used your stomping in the video. So like the feet of the Stiggy hitting the trailer are actually your feet going on the trailer. So
so that was funny because I had filmed the video already, and then you asked for the stomping. So I went back out and I just told my parents, I'm like, I'm gonna go stomp around in this trailer. Don't mind me. So I was out there. I actually had to do quite a few takes because my parents have chickens, and the roosters kept crowing while I was stomping, and I'm like, come on. It's like 15 seconds. I just need you to be quiet. But yeah, I think that worked out really nicely because I think you got the idea, Jack, because when I filmed it, I walk up to the trailer and step up on the step that's on the outside of the trailer so that I can then film inside.
Yeah.
And my foot hitting that had that nice deep reverberation. So yeah, I just ended up going inside the trailer and just stomping around for that.
The things we do for these videos. Like Tim did. I wanted Tim to do the voice for that video because we wanted it set in Australia, and obviously Tim's Australian. I was like, so he should do it. And it was so funny because I'm going to sound like a monster getting you to stamp in a trailer, getting Sam to cross the road in the light, and then Tim. I was like, Tim, can you record these lines? And I sent him oh, she's a beaut. Oh, look at this. This is going to be so cool. I sent him some lines to say, and he recorded them. And I could tell by the recording he was sat on his sofa recording them. So I was like, no, Tim, get up on your feet, stand up. And I was like, watch the video we've got of Samantha climbing up. I was like, look at the movement. So I probably won't put the videos in here, but Tim recorded himself walking up to his sofa, standing up, so he has that proper in his voice of this is gonna look so cool. You can hear in his voice that he's getting up onto something, and then looking down. So and he just gets up on his sofa, and behind his sofa is just a wall. So he's just gets up and he's just facing the wall with his camera. It just looks so funny.
Oh, check this out. This is so cool. Oh, she's a beaut. Oh.
That actually, the genesis for that was way back in the sort of 2018 when we were coming up with concepts. I had this idea of a little girl in the back of a car recording something, and they stop at the traffic lights, and this cattle truck pulls up, and she looks over, and in the back of the cattle truck is an Allosaurus eye just staring at her, looking through, and while they're at the stops, and then she's like, what is that? And then it pulls away, and obviously that's a really elaborate concept, but that was the idea. And I was thinking of hiring a trailer and getting all this stuff done, but when as soon as I didn't know how we were going to do it, and then we had the delays. But when we actually came to doing the work, Samantha, as soon as I saw your trailer, I was like, well, I just want a dinosaur in a trailer because it is just that's a classic Jurassic motif. The toys all had things where you could have dinosaurs in the back of trucks and God knows what else. So I was like, we need to have something like that, and that's where that one eventually came from. So
check this out. This is so cool. Oh, she's a beaut.
And that's one of the ones I've seen a lot of people say that the CGI in the Stiggy Moloch in the back of the truck is one of the best videos because you're very close to it, and the lighting when it lifts its head up and you see the sun rays hit it. And I don't know if many people know this, but that whole trailer Manuel rebuilt in CGI to get the camera right. So he'll do that often, like with the Trikes Over the Road video. He took the whole road and rebuilt it in CG and does it that way, but obviously uses the footage we filmed to like get it to look right and real. And I think he takes, I don't know how it works, but I think he takes like bits from the video and then maps them onto the 3D model, so it looks real.
Yeah, he did the same thing with the compy as well. So I filmed it originally with the cage in the shot, and then one without the cage, and then he recreated the cage so he didn't have to, put the compy in between all of the little slats and everything. And then I gave him the dimensions of the cage from the website, and so he could figure all of that out.
That's one of the things where people just won't. They'll be concentrating on the dinosaur and going, "Look at that! That's CGI," but not realizing that the whole cage and everything is CG as well. There is one tiny thing I wish if we had more time I would have done for that video, which is behind the trailer. There's like a gap, and you can see like a little bit off into the background. I would have loved to see a couple of compies just flip by really fast in the background, like so it shows that there's more still around, like they've caught one but there's others still hanging around this farm. Something else I just want to mention in terms of Easter eggs, obviously we have a lot of fun ones in there because we have a secret Kirby storyline that we expanded upon on this website as well with the Compy in the Cage video. Samantha, your the trailer in your video had this sticker, and I don't know if, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the make of the trailer was in the original video?
Yeah, it was just the maker.
Yeah, so I knew that there would be like some sort of copyright issue with showing some company, so I was like, Manuel, remove those. And then I was like, no, actually, that gives us the perfect opportunity to add like stickers, like someone's just got these stickers, you see bumpers on the bumpers of cars and stuff, and I was like, well, let's just put some stickers there for a laugh. So one of them was it just says K for K, which is a name of a friend's band from when we were teenagers, Cause for Concern as they were called back in high school. And then one of them's like a Tanastropheus head that I drew for Dino Defenders, but wearing a bowler hat with a pipe in its mouth, which someone made on my Discord, and I thought I'll put that in there because that looks kind of fun. And then I was like, right, so this is the perfect opportunity to expand what happened to the Kirbys post Jurassic Park 3, and thought it was hilarious to add in the fact that they managed to get, after the success of them surviving, if anyone out there has read the Jurassic Park Adventure books that came out after Jurassic Park 3, I think they released them at Universal Studios, but they were meant to be like a follow-up to Jurassic Park 3, and the first one is called Survivor. The second book is about Alan Grant in a research base on Sauna, and then the third one is called Flyers, and it's about pteranodons going into Universal Studios and creating havoc while the Kirbys are there. But anyway, they're not canon, but the point is, in those books, they talk about how Eric became a celebrity because he'd survived on the islands, and he made loads of money, and he was really famous and well-known, and his parents were well-known as well, and that gave me the idea to come up with this sticker that was in the video of Kirby Enterprises being something that was actually established after Jurassic Park 3, like he managed to start that company with his wife, and then we took that opportunity to add some little tiny caveats of what does Kirby Enterprises do. So we had fishing surplus, timeshare resale, dinosaur security consultants, and public relations, which are like, if you think about it in terms of the Kirbys, are the worst things they could be doing. Like maybe fishing surplus they can do, but the rest of them, it's like you do not want them to be to give you
rich
dinosaur
quick
security
schemes or something.
yeah.
I remember we had
sufficiently
like
slimy.
there was long discussions had about what they should be, but it doesn't matter because you can't even see them in the video anyway.
It was more for our entertainment, really. We knew it was there, even if no one else did.
Kirby! This is Kirby!
I worked on an image because Chris took this photo of this overturned car, and apparently Chris had to like pull the person out of this car. It was like a car accident, and he was like, "Oh, we should use this image in Dinotracker." So we spoke to Universal and called in, and I asked them, you know, what are the legal ramifications of using a car crash, and Chris was like, no, they were fine with, you know, me taking pictures and blah blah blah, and Universal, like, yeah, it seems cool. So you know, from the legal standpoint, so we used that image, and then I thought it'd be funny to set it in Enid, Oklahoma, and have the car overturned, have the Kirby Enterprises sticker on the side of the car, and then in the description of the sighting it says that you know, a person got frustrated with a dinosaur, so they beeped their horn, and obviously it went wrong. So the joke being that, like, them being dinosaur security consultants and all that, like, they're not the people you trust, because, you know, they're the Kirbys. You see how they handle situations before. They're not the best at thinking through things. But I just thought it'd be funny to have this sort of like mini subplot of these characters going on Dinotracker. So for any fans out there, that's like how deep the Easter eggs go out there. This is proper deep fan stuff in there. So
What about the Mosasaurus video that went viral on TikTok?
Yeah, go on, Ross. Talk about the Mosa.
Oh man, well that was something I'd been like mocking up with in Blender for a while, just like kind of coming up with stills, and then we just kind of asked Manuel if he would be up for doing like an animated version of it, but doing it rather than like kind of just your standard full motion like 24 FPS kind of thing. But like, well, why not make it like a really crap CCTV footage? You know, you often get those like, you know, really grainy, blurry, like, you know, 1 frame a second sort of deal. Which obviously, because that was right when he was in the midst of like doing about 7 videos all at the same time, so he didn't want to kind of burden him with too much stuff really. So that was kind of like ideal, because it would be quite straightforward, fairly simple to sort of produce, and it would have been the sound that was like almost like the focus of it. So the idea was that it was a prospect and platform, like a kind of oil platform sort of thing out in the ocean, that had like it was all automated, so it had this proximity cameras kind of activated by the Mosasaurus being right by it. In the description we had it like an impact that triggered the cameras to start recording, and then just creating like a whole soundscape for it, which was just so much fun, because basically like the sonar sound for it was just like, I mean, it's probably slightly unrealistic that you have like a civilian sonar that sounds like that, but it's just that kind of, the characteristic sound of it kind of makes it really eerie, and then just layering up all these sounds to come up with something that is like kind of really terrifying, and, you know, triggers a bit of a primal fear in you. And yeah, it was great, just like, you know, messing around with all these different sound effects to get it just right, and then the end result was clearly so good that people wanted to convince everyone else that it was actually a real thing that had been caught on camera. So that was pretty satisfying. That was so great. I just totally didn't expect that. I think, was it Manuel who posted it? It was like, oh, look what people think of the video. And it's just, it's so funny. It was great.
That's probably the most atmospheric, I would say, of all the videos that we've got up there, because I've seen reactions to the videos that we've done, and whenever that one starts, it starts off with a bing, and they always go like, ooh.
Their reaction every time is like,
Yeah,
That's so great. I had to.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize like the kind of amount of research I had to do for the actual sound of like getting the frequency of it just right, and then generating the sound and the fall off of the sound so it sounded just perfect. And yeah, it was so funny. It was such pointless research, but it was so satisfying to do to get it right. I think it definitely worked in his favor, I'd say.
Speaking of sound, dogs barking at a Nasutoceratops was quite interesting. Sam and Samantha, do you want to go into that video?
Yeah, I mean, the background of that video was we were coming up with some ideas for, all our dinosaur videos, and there were like people out and about, people here, there, and everywhere in public. But what about people in their own homes? So I'd actually seen a video, similar kind of concept, where a lady's dog is just staring at the back window, and there's like a mountain lion or something, and they're just having a stare off, and it was just like really just surreal. And I was just like, what if we have like a similar sort of thing with the dinosaurs, like a dinosaur? And originally it was like a dog barking, and the lady or the person comes in, and they see something, and then they turn the light on and the dinosaur's there, or they just see like the concept of what it would be come from Yaroslav's. You remember the artwork he did for the Carnotaurs, and all you could see was like
so
the demon
cool.
eyes, wasn't it?
So cool.
And and I was like, what if like when you come down, all you can see is like the eyes, and it's just like really creepy, and then they flick on the light, and then it just evolved into, okay, what if it's actually looks scary at first, and then when they flick on the light, it's actually like a cute, non-threatening dinosaur, like a baby. It went from like a baby Apatosaurus to a baby Parasaurolophus to a baby. When at one point we were thinking of having the baby Carnotaurus?
Yeah, because we got the CG model, so we were like thinking, should it be that? But then we'd used the Carnotaurus in the Peru video, so we were like, we should actually mix it up and use the Nasutoceratops because that's cute as well.
Cool, because we originally had the Nasutoceratops, which I'm sure you'll show when we get to that point. The original cut of that had a Nasutoceratops. The Gallimimus video had a Nasutoceratops in that as well, but it got cut out for just time constraints. Manuel just perfecting the last few bits, so it got cut from there. So it was like, why don't we choose the baby Nasutoceratops in this video? And my dog Daisy did a stellar job reacting to my wife shaking her toy outside, and then again we were like, we can't really have another video set in Southend, so let's set it in like a location we hadn't had at that point, which was Canada. So we needed some voice acting, and I was like, well, obviously, who's going to do a better Canadian accent out of our group than Samantha? So over to you.
I initially recorded that at like 4 a.m. in the morning because I was going to get on a plane, and you guys messaged me and are like, can you film this really quick? Can you do the audio? And I'm like, I was like 30 minutes from leaving. But yeah, so I recorded it, and then the feedback was my voice was too calming. So it's like, all right, so I re-recorded it when I was actually home and awake. And then for like background noises, I actually then filmed it in my kitchen. So it would have the same kind of like echoey sound that it should have from where Sam filmed it. But yeah, I got to say Daisy a lot, and didn't she react to it whenever you played it too?
Yeah, she was like confused. She was like, the funniest thing. I mean, I think Manuel actually did a really good job of recreating my non-existent back garden because you can't see anything out of the window the whole time. But
I gave him a note to add a patio or like a decking because my wife had just got a friend who lives in Toronto, and whenever she went over, she was like, everyone seems to have this decking out there in Canada. Everyone has that. I was like, so that's what we should put out, because that's the Canadian trait, right? Just wooden decking. So
some pancakes and syrup on the countertop, and you're all set.
It's funny because talking of sound design, because I did the sound for that one, I'll tell you now, the amount of dishwasher and washing machine sound effects I went through to get the right hum in the background of the kitchen being used, like a tumble dryer. You know, I was trying to look up the right one. It took me a while, but I eventually found one that was like one that was sold in like Canada and America. I was like, okay, and it sounds different to like a British one, because Sam, your kitchen, you didn't have anything going on at the time, but I was like, but I want to make it sound like the kitchen's going. So there is this like I believe it ended up being like a microwave in the background that sort of gives it that living kitchen aesthetic to the sound. But that was actually more complicated to find than the bloody dinging door sound for the trike video, was getting this kitchen to sound right, like in the right location in the world. So
didn't we submit the video as well in the document, and then like there was a last minute edit because we were like, oh my god, you can see my wife's face pop up at the end of the video, like, through the window.
She looked around, yeah.
What? Oh my god, what is that? Daisy, no, Daisy, get back. It's a baby.
And there's even examples of videos where it was, you know, relatively speaking, easier to do for Manuel, but obviously another problem would come out of the left field, and one of which was the nighttime forest walk that you recorded, Ross. Which was like a Blair Witch type video. When did
you get that horror in there?
When did you
that
shoot?
That was in March, I believe. March in the UK. So everything was dead, no leaves on the trees, freezing cold. Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, that was when I was out on a camping trip, and it was something because I tried to film a different version of that when I was with over at my parents' house, and it was that one wasn't quite as good because there wasn't much you could really see. So the version we actually went with was probably better because you could see more of the ground, you could see more trees around and that sort of thing. But yeah, that was an idea that I really wanted to have, was someone in the woods at night. A throwback to like the kind of the hunter intro on the Lost World computer game. Yeah. And then
just capturing that
obviously
sort of horror aesthetic that fans really love with this franchise. You know, being alone in the dark with a dinosaur
at night with a monster. Yeah. but that was the whole thing as well, when obviously decided on what dinosaur would feature in it.
So why I brought this up as like a problem coming about that we didn't anticipate was you shot that video, and obviously you turned the camera to complete black darkness, so Manuel then can cut and he could do anything, and that video was like one of the easiest ones for, you know, relatively speaking, for him to work on. And so obviously we sent ILM our wish list of dinosaurs, and one of them was the Dilophosaurus, and we didn't even know if they had a CG Dilophosaurus on hand, but we just asked for it. They send us a Dilophosaurus CG model, but it's actually from Fallen Kingdom because the file says Dilophosaurus FK, and we know that they didn't make a CG model of the Dilophosaurus for Jurassic World Dominion because Colin was set on just having the Dilophosaurus appear in animatronic form as sort of like a homage to the original film, because there wasn't a CG Dilophosaurus there. And so we knew that was happening, but obviously we got sent this Dilophosaurus, and so you filmed a shot of you falling over as well, like you'd been attacked. So Manuel made this shot where, you know, you turn the camera and the Dilophosaurus jumps out with its frill going crazy, and then it spits at the camera and you fall over, and we look at it and it's like perfect, it's great. I do the sound design for it,
amazing,
and we're like, we've got this in the bag, this is going to make fans go nuts. And then we send it to Universal, they love it, they're like, this is great. They send it to Colin and he's like, no, don't want any don't want any CGI Dilophosauruses for this movie, and that, so
it's just a flat no, just completely, just like that. It was done. We were all so happy with it. Universal was so happy with it. And then it goes to Colin, and we're all like, this is going to be great. Oh wait,
and this is where you have to. It's
not happening.
This is one of those moments because this is Colin's world building and everything. So you have to respect his artistic vision for good or for bad. Which was, we were like, okay, that's fair enough. But then that meant that the nighttime forest video, which was so good, we were like, we need to redo it. And so I had the idea, I got reminded of the first book, Crichton's book. I was like, there's a scene where Ed Regis is on the road and he gets attacked by the juvenile Tyrannosaurus. And I was like, the idea of this a juvenile carnivore being deadly, obviously in the Lost World, Ludlow gets killed by the baby T-Rex, so this is something we could expand upon. And obviously, if you're watching this, Clayton, I am sorry, but he really doesn't like the Fallen Kingdom Allosaurus design. He always hated it. So I was like, I want to really use it and make something really cool with that, so he just can't hate it. So he has to love it. So I was like, yeah, Manuel, let's use the juvenile Allosaurus that we've got. And then he sent the version that we saw. It just runs out and you get taken out. And obviously I edited it so you don't fall on the ground. It just gets cut to, the camera gets broken and it's cut. And then redid the sound design for that. And that was another atmospheric one where you can hear twigs snapping in the background. You can hear it roar a bit and the person's breathing and all that. And
the noise when it comes crashing out. Oh, so good. The crunching and breaking of all of the branches as this just comes storming out the dark is just great. It's so good.
Yeah.
The best thing about that video, though, is the description. Because all the videos up until that point, like whether there's any kind of danger, they were like, oh, they were lucky, that they found safety or this, that, and the other. And then on that video, it's like, he was lucky to survive. Everyone's like,
sure he was.
And then jump into Chris's JP3 Raptor one, and it's like, he was lucky to survive as well.
They
a lot of luck going around these parts. A lot of luck.
Except the T-Rex truck video, Sam. You got eaten by the T-Rex.
I was not lucky to survive. So.
No, there is an explicit death on there. That Dilophosaurus video, though, that was because I had an idea for one that I just didn't have the time to do. But I wanted to have some people in a car, and there's a Dilophosaurus in the road, and they're beeping their horn at it, trying to get it to move, and then it spits on the windscreen, and all of the venom just sprays up the windscreen, and then they try and wipe it off, and then drive away like absolutely crapping themselves. But I just didn't have the time to get that sorted, and that may not have in the time we had probably wouldn't have been possible. So that was what led me to the idea of the nighttime encounter as well. But yeah, that would have been, if we had more time, that would have been a lot of fun to do as well, I think.
Yeah.
Just like really violently hear like a huge bang as it all hits the screen, the windscreen, and sprays up all over it, and then they try and wipe it off with the windscreen wipers.